Good morning, all of you. All right, are you? Yeah, okay, good morning. All right, so today we'll do civics revision, chapter 1 and chapter 2. Power sharing and federalism both are related. Okay, so what do you understand by power sharing? In your. Hmm. Yes, Vansh. Okay, so sharing of power. Okay, majoritarianism. What do you understand by the term majoritarianism? Rule over the country in the way that they want, and they could that and disregarding the wishes and the needs of the minority community. Okay, ethnic. What do you understand by the term ethnic? All right, if you see on page 2, left hand side in the glossary it is given ethnic. So if they ask you for a 1 mark question, what do you understand by the term ethnic? So a social division based on shared culture, that you will have to write. And don't, in civics, don't write, as far as possible, don't write in your own words, try to write in the language of the book. Okay, and mass, understand? Yes, mass, are you able to hear me? He joined in just now, again he left. He is there, maybe just joined in and not even listening. Okay, so basically, in your exams also, for your board exams also, as well as for your home exams, in civics, as far as possible, do write the language of the book. Okay, all right. Belgium shares its borders with which countries? Germany. Okay, I'm asking these questions because these questions have been asked before in the tests and the exams, and this was asked for a 1 mark question. So you need to know. Okay, okay. Ethnic composition of Belgium. Are German speaking. Hmm. Okay. So 59% they live in Flemish region and they speak Dutch, whereas another 40% people they live in the Wallonia region and they speak French. Remaining 1% they speak German. Uh, Ethnic composition of Brussels. Okay. What led to tension between the two communities in the 1950s and 1960s? Okay, all right. Not listen, not all together. Answer one by one. If you know the other person is speaking, so I think you all can see that also on your screen. If someone else is speaking, yes, huh. So at that time, you remain quiet for a while. Let other person complete, then you can tell. Yes, Yashasvi.
French community got the economic opportunity much
Hmm.
before than the.
Hmm. Uh, the two reasons are given here because the Dutch speaking community, uh, Dutch speaking community, they got the benefit of economic development and education much later. Minority French speaking, they were rich and powerful. Okay, so minority French, they were rich and powerful, whereas the majority community Dutch, they got the benefits of economic development and education much later. So because they got the benefits of economic development and education much later, so obviously they were not as rich and as powerful. With money, you know, power comes. Okay, uh, major religion, sorry, major language group of Sri Lanka. Okay, Sinhala. Ethnic composition of Sri Lanka. Ethnic composition of Sri Lanka.
Ma'am, getting Sinhala.
Okay, Divyanshi. Wait. Divyanshi, answer. Hmm. Okay. Then divide Tamil also among the. Huh. All right. Okay, so among Tamils, there were two subgroups Tamil natives of the country called the Sri Lankan Tamils, which were 13%, and the rest were from India, whose forefathers went there as plantation workers during the colonial period. Okay, then religion wise, most of the Sinhala speaking they were Buddhists, while most of the Tamil speaking were Hindus or Muslims, and about 7% were Christians, and they belonged both to the Tamil or the Sinhalese. Okay, then what three acts were passed by the Sri Lankan government to establish majoritarianism in Sri Lanka? What three acts were passed by them? Okay. So when you write this point, you will write that Sinhalese was made the official language disregarding Tamil. Second point. What was the second point? Okay, for government jobs and university positions, and one more. Hmm. All right. All right. So the state will foster Buddhism, disregarding which religion? All the other religions, the Hindus, the Muslims, and the Christians. Okay. So, as a result of these three government measures coming one after the other, gradually the feeling of alienation it came among the Sri Lankans, and they felt that none of the major political parties which were led by the Sinhalese, they were sensitive to their language and to their culture, and they thought that the government policies they denied them equal representation, equal political rights, and discriminated against them in getting the jobs and other opportunities, and also ignored their interests. And as a result, what happened? The relations between the Sinhalese and the Tamils they soured over time, and what happened as so to get their demands met, the Sri Lankan Tamils they launched parties and struggles. Okay, this you will tell. Why don't you tell me this answer? Okay, describe any three demands of the Sri Lankan Tamils and how did they struggle for their demands? Describe any three demands of the Sri Lankan Tamils. What were the three demands? one by one. Yes, Vansh. Hmm. Okay, regional autonomy, freedom in the religion where they were in majority, and okay. So these were the three demands, and beta, that was, I know, but that was later on. Their major three demands were these. When these were not met, then they started asking for a separate Tamil Ilam, means a separate Tamil state. Okay, so these were the demands. How did they struggle for their demands? How did they go about asking for the demands? Hmm? Huh? Okay. All right. So they launched parties and struggles for the recognition, and then, but the demands for autonomy, it was denied. Then by, you will mention this also, by 1980 several political organizations were formed demanding an independent Tamil Ilam in northern and eastern parts of the Sri Lanka. Okay, and if they ask you more, then you'll have to write about that also. Means what happened as a result of that, that the distrust between the two communities, it turned into a widespread conflict and soon turned into a civil war. Then you will mention that also. Okay, then you'll have to study about the accommodation in Belgium also. Go through all 4 points. Next, this question is very important. Why is power sharing desirable? They could ask you for 1 mark, one prudential reason or one moral reason, or they could give this question as a proper question. Now, one more thing, this year we won't be giving you a 5 mark question for this particular exam. Now, the reason is that otherwise we will not be left with much marks, all right, or much questions to give you. So that is why we will give you questions of lesser marks, but at least so that you can have at least 4, 5, 6 questions to answer. Okay, and so the marks the question will carry will be a little less as compared to your usual thing, but you be prepared accordingly. So now this question is normally asked for a 3 mark question. Why is power sharing desirable? And if it comes, then you have to mention both the prudential as well as the moral reason. Okay, and like if it comes for your this exam half yearly, so at least mention two of each. If it comes for, if it is coming for 3 marks, then you have to give the whole answer, but if it is coming for 2 marks, then you give at least 2 prudential reasons and 2 moral reasons. Don't give just 1 prudential and 1 moral. Okay, but use lesser words if it carries less marks. Who will tell? Why is power sharing desirable? Hmm. Conflict between social groups, that is one point. First, wait. First, let's stick to the prudential reasons. She started with the prudential reason that it reduces the possibility of conflict. Second, all right, so it also ensures the stability of the political order, all right, because if there will be conflict, then it will lead to violence and political instability. But what power sharing does, it establishes political order, means stability, it provides stability of the political order. Then one more, that for a short time it appears that that it is good, all right, to it may be an attractive option that to rule over the minority community, but in the long run what happens, it undermines the unity of the country. Yes, next. Yes, let's come to the moral reasons. Okay, power sharing is a very spirit of democracy. That is very important. You need to write that. That more. Hmm. So Hmm. Okay. So, democratic rule, it basically involves sharing power with the one who are being affected by the rule, and the people, they have a right as how to be governed and how to be ruled. So they need to be consulted on that. And a legitimate government is where citizens, through participation, they acquire a stake or a share in the system. All right. Then you have forms of power sharing. Now, first is power sharing among different organs. This is also called as what type of power sharing?
Horizontal
All
distribution.
right, horizontal power sharing, and the power sharing among different levels of the government is also called as
Ma'am, vertical.
vertical. Okay, all right. And so you need to go through all these four types of power sharing. This is very important. Just go through it. And it is not difficult. We have done it properly also in class, so I don't think so you'll find it much difficult. Okay, now federalism. What do you understand by the term federalism?
Ma'am, distribution of power at different levels.
Okay,
distribute
between between
the central
Ma'am,
authority and
central
various
authority and various various constituent authority.
all right, so a central authority and various constituent units of the country. All right, then you have certain key features of federalism given here, 7 to be precise. Just go through them. Then uh, you could be asked as what is coming together federation, or what is holding together type of federation, and you need to do it along with the examples. Okay, give me an example of coming together type of federation.
Ma'am, USA. Ma'am,
Okay.
USA.
All right, three are mentioned here. Learn all three: USA, Australia, and Switzerland. Whereas for holding together, India, Spain, and
India.
okay, India, Spain, and Belgium. All right. Then what makes India a federal country? Under that we have the three lists: the union list, the state list, and the concurrent list. And so you need to know what are these three lists. Then what are residuary subjects? What are residuary subjects? Tell me that. You know what is residue?
the subject which came after the partition was made
Hmm.
after the coordination of the constitution.
Okay.
Ma'am, residue is the remaining.
Okay. And so the subjects which came up later, like for example, computer software. And so who has power to make legislation on those subjects?
Ma'am, union government.
All right, all right.
Ma'am,
So the
central government.
all right. So the union government or the central government, they have the power to legislate on matters of residuary subjects. All right. Then according to your book, now this Jammu Kashmir thing, this is very recent, but as per your book, it is mentioned that some states have been given special powers. Okay. So if they ask you anything on that, then you have to write according to the book, that Jammu and Kashmir, they have their own constitution, and that many provisions of the Indian constitution, they are not applicable, though now they are changed, but still as per your book you have to write that. Yes, Maz,
Yes.
what are you doing? I asked you something in the beginning. You were not there. You joined, but you were not listening. What is this? Sleeping?
No, ma'am, network problem, ma'am.
Okay. And also do about the judiciary, the role judiciary plays. All right. And how laws can be changed if they want that any law to be changed in this federal system, then how they have to go about. So that also you have to do that. It is not easy to make changes to this power sharing arrangement, and the parliament, they cannot change it on their own. So any change, it first has to be passed by both houses of the parliament with at least 2/3 majority, and then it has to be ratified, or it has to be approved by the legislatures or of at least half of the total states. So this you need to know. Then linguistic states. You could have separate questions on the linguistic states also. Have I given you some question on that? Yes, like this question, that the creation of linguistic states was the first and the major test for democratic politics in our country. So you could have straight questions on linguistic states, the language policy, the center state relations, and among the center state relations, uh, you know uh, 2 3 questions could be asked about the changes that were brought about after 1990s. So if that is asked, then you will write that this period saw the rise of regional political parties. This is on page 20, second column and the last paragraph. Okay, so you need to know this, you need to study about the language policy also, and because separate questions could be asked on that. Then what is decentralization? What is decentralization? Have you done that?
Giving the power to local government. Division of power.
All right. It is when power is taken, means the power which is already enjoyed by the central or the state governments, when some of those powers are taken from them and given to local government, then that is called as decentralization. And then significance of decentralization. Why do you think decentralization is important or it is significant?
Because some issues can be solved at the local level,
Okay.
and the people
Hmm. Oh, okay.
the people there are more familiar to the problem.
Okay, okay, fine. So you have 4 5 points here. You need to go through that. Then on the same page, sometimes they ask you questions on like what major steps were taken towards decentralization after 1992. So 5 points are given here. You need to know that now it is constitutionally mandatory to hold regular elections about this. And then rural local government and urban local government bodies, their structure, their role is also given here. Go through both of them, because you can have separate questions asked on the structure and functions of the rural local government and the urban local government as well. So you need to know about the gram sabha and gram panchayat. All that you need to know, you need to study. And then who is the Zilla Parishad chairperson? I already said yes, the Zilla Parishad chairperson, that I've already told. Okay. Then in a municipal corporation, who is the head? Municipal,
Municipal commissioners.
we have the panchayat at the village level, then municipalities in towns, and municipal corporations in big cities like Lucknow. So who is the head of the
Municipal chairperson.
municipal corporation at Lucknow? The mayor, right? The mayor.
Mayor.
The mayor is the head. Okay, then certain drawbacks are also mentioned on the last page. You need to go through that also. And uh, though we don't have time, but while you are doing history, please don't leave those small things. And like, what is L, who were the Junkers, and which state led the unification of Germany, which state led the unification of Italy. Okay, by the way, which state led the unification of Germany? Any idea? Okay, and which state led the unification of Italy? Yes. Yes, which state? Okay, Sardinia Piedmont. Then you should also know that who were the main members, all right, uh, who were responsible for the unification. We'll end here, and in case you have any confusion, any query, you can post on the group. All right, all of you. And please do the unification of Italy, Germany, Britain, then the Greek War of Independence, the Frankfurt Parliament, about the Balkans, then Romanticism. You cannot leave anything. The Treaty of Vienna, what were its terms, conservatism. There's a lot to be learned in the history chapter, so please go through it carefully. In case you have any query, you can ask. Maybe next week you have your papers from 17, so maybe we'll get classes from Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. Let's see. So if we get, then if we get any class, then we'll can do the revision properly. All right, all of you.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, okay. So we'll stop here.
Thank